By the way, Yund did win an online MCQ. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I didn't.
Yeah. It just flat won and qualified someone for a Mythic Championship. So maybe it's totally fine. I don't know. Yund has its ways of doing things sometimes.
Yeah, like I said, the online metagame, pretty wild.
Look, people got Hogak on there too.
Have you run into Black White Sewer yet?
Sewer? No, I don't know what that is. Must not be very good.
Phyrexian Obliterator, Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Oh, yeah. Todd wrote about that this week.
I ran into that thing.
You did not win.
I got mushed. Obliterator, huh?
Well, we've gotten to the point in the format now where there are people probably building decks that say, I beat everything else.
Right.
But if you're playing Hogak, I can't win, and that's fine. And that's a fun part of things, I think. Serum Vision's here for young Oliver Tomajko.
Yeah, it's a weird experience to have this feeling of this deck feels really fake, and also I could never win in a million years. It's like kind of only one of those things can be true.
Yes, a Jund strategy. Let's start things off with a discard spell. Inquisition of Kozilek is how Salvatore will begin things. Manamorphose among the cards in the hand for Decola to choose from.
I think this should be a pretty solid matchup here for Jund.
I think it's probably fine.
And a card that I'm interested in here, it looks like Assassin's Trophy, no Abrupt Decay. Is that correct?
That's what it looks like to me.
Jund's also one of few decks in the format that's equipped to handle both the creature angle and Aria of Flame at a low opportunity cost. You're one of the few decks in the format that can interact with enchantments pretty easily game one. And at the end of the day, the Izzet Phoenix deck only has, 10, 11 cards they can actually win the game with. And Jund's pretty good at fending off 10 or 11 cards.
Little Manamorphose action here. We're going to head back over to our Jund player. Going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire now. Falling down to at least 17, potentially less than that. 2 drops include Tarmogoyf, of course, Scavenging Ooze, which makes a lot of sense, but notably, no Dark Confidants in the list.
It's a little slow.
It's probably a little slow.
A lot of gut shots and lava darts floating around in Modern right now.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing to get gut shotted. I didn't even think about that.
It's worse to get lava darted, because it implies the second Confidant also no good.
Yeah. Here is a 3/4 Tarmogoyf. We're going to head back over to Oliver Tomajko now, who I think this is also worth noting as well. Tomajko, he made his comeback into qualifying for the Players' Championship with a timely win with Dredge. You would think that maybe he would play Hogak, but instead he said, no way, I'm going to play Izzet Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a loud declaration from this team. It is the same 75.
Well, here's Liliana the Veil, a card that we don't see much of. That's going to take care of Thing in the Ice. And Tarmogoyf is thinking about getting a little frisky.
Jund.
This is nice because now you just get the deck from like 2011. It's just like, what's up?
What's up? Oh, how many new sets have there been? Like 12 since I played this deck last? That's fine. Same cards.
Modern Horizons. What are you guys talking about?
Oh, there's a new Terminate. All right, I'll play one. Sure.
Is there a new card in this deck?
How new are we talking?
Like for Modern Horizons.
Any Horizon lands? I don't think so.
No. Still got Range Ravine though.
Plague Engineer in the sideboard.
That card might be good.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think people are selling that one a little short.
Well, it's just not the metagame really isn't that well set up for it, but it's not. The card is not weak.
Arclight Phoenix is going to finish off Liliana the Veil. One thing Phoenix has always done a great job of is checking Planeswalkers, so that Planeswalker is taken care of. So we head back over to Decola.
Tarmogoyf does not care, however.
No.
5/6 out of Lightning Axe range.
Also, yeah, Tomajko probably just has no way to kill this. I mean, Magmatic Sinkle doesn't do it either.
And there are no copies in their list.
Well, there's that. The results of this tournament they're just gonna be wacky, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the winning Jund, Abzan,
Black-White tokens.
Mardu.
Yeah. So what were you thinking when you sleeved up Spectral Procession? I don't know. It just seemed fine. Lightning Bolt.
Jund.
I mean, I'm going upstairs.
Several good options here.
Yeah. Nugglesworth. Makes the next Lightning Bolt lethal. Check in with the teammate. I like this. Let's make sure of some things here. While he's checking in there, I'm going to check in on Ethan Gaieski and Michael Yeager. Gaieski won game number 1. He's up a game over Titan Shift.
I vote for going to just going at Tomajko here, because one of the ways that you can get punked out from this spot is Tomajko being able to play, as unlikely as it is, Thing the Ice and transform all in one turn. Were that to happen, the Arc-like Phoenix would also come out of the graveyard, so it wouldn't even be like you would stop that. And this attack would knock Tomajko down to 3, so your Bloodbraid would have another shot at Lightning Bolt the next turn.
It would make a Bloodbraid probably lethal and a Lightning Bolt lethal.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I would have erred on the side here slightly of Decola's in a really good spot, very unlikely to lose, but I think the 1% of the time Tomajko can come back from here, you're better served bolting him instead of the Arc-like Phoenix.
Looks like David Tobias won game number 1 there over Jonathan Awesome Rosum. So we're all tied up on our scoreboard right now. A mountain here for young Oliver Tomajko. We'll allow him to search up a little something. There's a surgical extraction. Going to take care of Lightning Bolt. Tomajko's going to fall down to 3.
So I know that we've been joking around a little bit here about the lists here on the right. Actually, could be taught into hardened scales, because you present a 3.5 clock, maybe closer to turn 4, fast clock, and you have a lot of ways to break up bridge from below.
Also, there's like no artifact removal.
Right, and no one's playing with any artifact removal.
Yeah. I can be talked into a lot of decks this weekend, unquestionably, as Salvatore does win game number 1 here over Oliver Tomajko. So for your players on the right, David Tobias, Salvatore Decola, and Michael Yeager, they are currently up in this match over Awesome Rosum, Oliver Tomajko, and Ethan Gaieski. Sideboards is where we're going to go now. I want to start with young Oliver Tomajko and his 2 Abrades, 2 Force Negation, 2 Ravenous Trap, 2 Saheeli Sublime Artificer, along with 2 Spell Pierce, 5 1-ofs, and a Crackling Drake, a Surgical Extraction, a Flame Slash, an Anger of the Gods, and a Very Bloody Moon.
I like the copy of Flame Slash, the Crackling Drake, and the 2 copies of Saheeli all are pretty well positioned for a game that's likely to go long and where Tomajko wants a little bit more interaction. Flame Slash in particular does a lot of work here, as Decola has an incentive to try to play a 4 toughness Tarmogoyf, and Flame Slash can be very good there. I wouldn't mind bringing in the 1 copy of Blood Moon too. It's not always going to be good, but if Decola's caught off guard or his draw happens to go a certain way, Blood Moon might lock him out.
Other side of things here for our Jund sideboard. Well, 4 Leyline in the Void, of course. 4 Fulminator Mage. Okay. All right, 1-of fun-ofs. Let's do this. Ancient Grudge, Plague Engineer, Anger of the Gods Damnation, Kolaghan's Command Engineered Explosives, and yes, Ashiok Dream Render from War of the Spark.
I could see 0 cards coming in.
Okay.
Could see the Leylines coming in. I kind of like Engineered Explosive as an answer to Thing in the Ice and to Aria of Flame. Anger of the Gods is theoretically an answer to Arc-like Phoenix. I don't know. The Ashiok has some utility here. Certainly Tomajko uses his graveyard a little bit. So yeah, I could be talked into a handful of the cards here. I could also see same 60 or very close to it.
Well, we're going to see how these players, and they're all sideboarding right now, and it looks like most of them getting ready here for game number 2. Perhaps Gaieski's match has gotten underway a little bit, since it looks like he's focusing in on something. But I want to focus in on the Season 2 schedule here on the SCG Tour, where we're kicking things off here in Pittsburgh with the Team Modern Open. And then we got Corset 2020 release weekend taking place in Worcester. And then after that, your favorite city, Philadelphia.
For some team constructed action, and then Columbus to round out July. That'll be Modern. August has Richmond and Dallas. That's team constructed and Modern. In September, Syracuse. That's the Legacy Open of Season 2. And then October has Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Atlanta. In between Indianapolis and Atlanta is the Star City Games Regional Championship. That's October 19th. You can head over to go.starcitygames.com/regionals for more information when we get a little bit closer to that event. And then November and December, 1 event each, but they're big. SCG Con Winter, featuring the Star City Games Invitational November 14th and 17th. And then to cap off the year, the Players' Championship December 13th through the 15th.
Playmats very quickly here before game number 2 begins for Oliver Tomajko and Salvatore Decola. I want to talk about Captain's Quarters by Titus Lunter. This will be for our standard open and classic players. Aurora's Light by the incredibly talented John Avon for our modern open and classic players. And then Rip from Reality from Mark Teeden for our legacy open and classic players. All these playmats are free and exclusive here on the SCG Tour. They were designed exactly for this purpose. for you to come to our events and pick them up because they're not even Magic cards. Free with entry into Open Classics, Infinite Challenges, or sealed spectacular packages. Go.starcitygames.com/schedule for more information. Let's watch more Oliver Tomajko try to defeat old Jund. Old trusty Jund. Looks like Oliver is on a mulligan here. Of course, our goal is to bring as much Magic as possible. We're going to be hopping around from match to match as best we can. Apparently, we're able to do some live from the floor interviews, which will be good. I know Nick Miller will be working on doing some deck techs here. We got to get somebody with Hogak in the deck tech area. But there's plenty of innovative decks here this weekend that are worth deck teching. Perhaps we find some time for Mardu Death Shadow.
Are we going to do... I mean, can we do a from the floor interview with a team that's playing in the basement? Are they still on the floor or are they downstairs?
Actually, just Dylan Donegan. Dylan, we love you.
Live from the floor.
Yeah.
Usually we do these as teams, but we want to do a little guerrilla reporting.
That's right.
Talk to me about your teammates this weekend.
Dylan, of course, loves to play the best deck as often as he can. Played Hogak here this weekend. Things did not go right for the team.
How did you feel when you saw the one painful truth in their sideboard?
Aptly named. Ethan calling a judge. Looks a little frustrated about something. Looks like a young you.
Nah, he got his hair cut and shaved recently.
You would never do such a thing?
Nah.
Okay. I do appreciate that you only shave before the shows.
Only.
Yeah.
Only.
That's a hard only, which is
only
great.
before the shows.
Yeah.
After that, I'm in dad mode.
Yep. Oh, that's great. Oliver going to leave it on top of the scry. Flooded Strand is where he'll begin at game number 2. Bloodstained Mire, give me a discard spell. Oh, Jund. Always Jund.
Jund.
Let me see what you're working with. It's a Thoughtseize, so Salvatore is going to fall down to 15. Thought Scour, Sleight of Hand, pardon me. An Arclight Phoenix, and it looks like at least one land, but maybe 2. Get a better look of it in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the middle card is a Steam Vents, but I'm not sure. That's the difference between this hand being fine without a whole lot going on, or risky with not a whole lot going on.
All right, looks like he's going to select Thought Scour. So it looks like 2 Sleight of Hands are left over. Now Tomajko's going to sacrifice that Flooded Strand. Probably get a Steam Vents and Aaron's the battlefield tapped, and then he'll mosey on along to his second turn of the game. Again, you do see the score on our scoreboard there, along with the clock ticking down. Both these teams are 5-0 here in Pittsburgh, off to great starts, as we're over halfway home in day number 1 of competition. Day 2, of course, we'll have plenty of rounds and more Magic to bring you. And eventually someone's walking out of here with $7,500, a bunch of SCG points, and an invite to our Season 2 Invitational at SCGCon Winter. This is a Manamorphose. That is a Sleight of Hand. Lightning Bolt's going to go to the grip. And now it's a Faithless Looting. So we're going to see an Arclight Phoenix come back here in just a moment, I think. It's not a bad turn there from Tomajko. His deck is doing what it does now.
Very solid opening. A lot of cantrips on the way back to play with and rebuild with if the Arclight Phoenix dies. And a Lightning Bolt to continue to push.
Decola's just going to play a Bloodstained Mire and pass the turn back, so no 2-drop there. Perhaps a removal spell is coming up next. Here comes Arclight Phoenix, and Decola's going to very quickly sacrifice that Bloodstained Mire. So it's time to search up a land as he falls down to 11, and it's going to be a Stomping Ground. That leads me to believe a Fatal Push with Revolt, if I had to guess. And that's exactly what it'll be. So a temporary answer to the Arclight Phoenix as a Serum Visions after combat here from Tomajko is how he'll begin turning that deck back on. Split the difference on the Scry, one on top, one on bottom. He'll play a Scalding Tarn and pass the turn back. We'll see what Jund's turn 3 looks like. Going to start things off with a Blackleaf Cliffs, and it'll be a Liliana the Veil. So this is very Jund-esque.
And very nice here for Decola, because this is going to make it harder and harder for Tomajko to keep resurfacing the Arclight Phoenix. Just going to run out of stuff.
Tarmogoyf is the discard there for Decola. That's pretty notable.
Strong hand, could be representative of Kolagon's command.
Yeah, not a card that you can play in huge numbers anymore is Kolagon's command. Format is much too fast for that. But there are spots and matchups where it's one of your better cards. I think this might be one of them. Michael will start things off with a sleight of hand here. Serum Visions and Island are the cards to choose from. Island predictably going to the bottom, Serum Visions going to the grip. We'll see what comes next here for Oliver. He'll go with Serum Visions this time.
Yeah, there's the question of, do you want to bolt the Liliana and attack with Arclight Phoenix, or try to ignore the Liliana and point everything as much as possible to just directly at Decola?
Looks like Tomajko's going to split the difference on the Scry once again. Aria of Flame was the draw off of the Serum Visions, and that's an interesting card in this matchup because it is something that Jund can handle. There's a Lightning Bolt. And this is what you talked about. Where was the bolt going to go? It looks like to Liliana, and then Arclight Phoenix will finish off the powerful Planeswalker.
It's a lot of resources here for Tomajko, though, to be winning these very small exchanges.
Well, there's another Tarmogoyf, so perhaps that explains why he discarded the first one. I have to believe that with Decola not playing a land that turn, that he's probably got a pretty good hand.
I mean, discarding Tarmogoyf and the spot where he had double green, so any land turns on both in the same turn. I'm guessing his leftovers are quite good.
It'll be Faithless Looting with Flashback here for Oliver. Flame Slash among the cards drawn, but Flame Slash is not going to take care of that Tarmogoyf. Do also want to take a moment and let you know, as Oliver discards Aria, Flame, and Spirebluff Canal, that Jonathan Rosum did tie things up there against David Tobias. Is it Phoenix and Hardened Scales are going to be going to game number 3 here in just a moment. We're holding that match. We might be jumping that way. Raging Ravine is the land for the turn. Tarmogoyf is a 6/7 now because Aria Flame is an enchantment that's in the graveyard. Tarmogoyf trying to play catch-up here on this battlefield. Here's a sleight of hand. Tomajko is still digging, looking for answers. Opt is the card he'll take. This is an Opt. Scry 1, top card becomes the bottom one now. Mystery card coming. And it looked like it was an Arclight Phoenix, which is not a bad find when you already have Faithless Looting in hand. I think he may have just found another one. Whoo, boy.
Well, that's everything.
Yep. That's lethal if it works the way that Oliver's hoping. But there is some concern here because if Salvatore has, let's say, a removal spell for one of them and draws a land for the Raging Ravine, then that's game. So Tomajko's got to think about this.
He's also done nothing for several turns, and he's drawing so heavy here that I don't know. I know this is I bias this way certainly a lot of the time, but if I'm Tomajko, I think I'm just going for it. He has to draw a land off the top to make it even happen anyway. And then even if he has one removal spell, you knock him to 2, so any of his Ravnica dual lands don't do it.
Mm-hmm. What's also interesting here, too, is that if your opponent has a removal spell, they can kill the Phoenix that was hanging back on defense. So
right, yeah.
There's a Fatal Push and a Fatal Push. Oh, wow, he's got to push his own Tarmogoyf. That's a win. Yeah, that's brutal. That's the only way to do it, to turn on the Revolt. That Verdant Catacombs a little late. Bloodbraid Elf, what can you do? Trigger. Ugh, that's one of those times discards not so good. As Inquisition Kozilek was the reveal. And Oliver Tomajko is going to win game number 2 here against Salvatore Decola. So they're going to get ready for a third and final game in the middle. And we'll find out what's going on in that bottom match there between Gaieski and Michael Yeager as well, because it looked like players were talking down there. All right, so quick update here for you. Ethan Gaieski won.
Yeah.
Your boy. Is it Phoenix taking care of Titan Shift?
Master.
We're going to jump to the top match in just a moment. But first, let's see Brian Gottlieb's shining face on the StarCityGames.com newsletter, which you can subscribe to for free. It's your source for Magic the Gathering news and a whole bunch more.
Well, a whole lot of content on here, curated by Star City Games' own Cedric Phillips, is your source for Magic the Gathering news, including highlights from some of Star City Games' best articles, upcoming SCG Tour dates and location. If you're looking for an invitational qualifier or a game night near you, you can find it there. And best of all, signing up is free over at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Game number 3. Some important ones about to take place here, but we're going to put our focus on Jonathan Awesome Rosum and the unknown in David Tobias, who is playing Hardened Scales this week. And Hardened Scales should be on the play as Rosum did tie things up. And we don't see a ton of Hardened Scales here in our modern events on the SCG Tour, but there are times where this deck is incredibly well positioned. This might be one of those weekends.
Well, I have no doubt that Rosum, Tomajko, and Gaieski have done the work.
Yeah.
Deciding to do same 75, having that level of consensus, does not happen by accident.
Ancient Stirrings and a Welding Jar is where David's going to start things off. You mentioned the ability for Hardened Scales to be able to manage Bridge from Below. Arcbound Ravager, Walking Ballista, Hangerback Walker, all 4 ofs here.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense. There are 2 Steel Overseers as well, and then 4 Arcbound Workers. Those are the creatures. Animation Module, Hardened Scales, Mox Opal, Throne of Geth, Welding Jar. This looks pretty normal. Not seeing a ton of new lands or new cards here, except for Nurturing Peatland, which is from Modern Horizons, as this is a Serum Visions here for Jonathan Rosum.
0 copies of Fiery Islet here in the Gaieski Tomajko Rosum list, which I like.
That's notable.
This deck feels like so hungry on mana. Keep a lot of one-landers that I think you have to give up if that's the one land in question.
Yeah.
Never found that deck to really run out of things to do.
No, it's got no shortage of that, right? That's part of the appeal, I think.
Yeah. So my intuition is 0 copies over 1. A lot of the lists we've seen this weekend have been on 1 copy.
David's going to play a copy of Darksteel Citadel. And now it's which 2-drop to play, perhaps. Going to start with a Hangerback Walker on 1. We'll go back over to Jonathan Rosum now, who has a Mountain. And he's got, looks like a copy of Thing in the Ice. So going to put Hardened Scales to the test right away, see if they can answer the 0-4. Mox Opal's timely. Metalcraft is very much met here with 4 artifacts on the battlefield, and there is a very good Dismember to take care of Thing in the Ice. Also another copy of Ancient Stirrings in hand here for David, and an Arcbound Ravager. So his draw appears to be pretty good, and the Welding Jar does a nice job of protecting the relevant creatures around the damage-based removal of Izzet Phoenix.
Yeah, it's on the slow side, but a lot to work with here, a lot to play towards.
Well, puts you to the test again with another copy of Thing in the Ice on turn number 3 here for Rosum. He'll play a Scalding Tarn, leaving up maybe a Lightning Bolt of some sort, as we're going to head back over to David Tobias for his 4th turn. Animation Module is a 1-mana artifact where whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are placed on a permanent you control, like Hangerback Walker, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless Servo artifact creature token. And then for 3 mana and tapping the Animation Module, you may choose a counter on target permanent or player, which does come up in this matchup. Give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. So if Inkmoth Nexus does start showing up, the Animation Module can, let's say, proliferate.
Put it on the Thing in the Ice, too.
It's true.
Try to slow it down a turn. And this is the risk of having a draw that's on the slow side, even if it's durable, is all of this setup just going to be undone by Awoken Horror.
And this is one of the slower draws here for Hardened Scales. Now, it is a slower version of Affinity than your textbook classic Affinity with cranial plating, but it can be more explosive because it can kill you essentially out of nowhere.
And Hardened Scales gives the deck a certain extra dimension that Affinity doesn't have. And you can get some of your draws surrounding that card can be as fast, if not faster, than the best Affinity draws.
Jonathan Rosum is going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn to go get a Steam Fence that's going to enter the battlefield untapped. Okay. Rosum with a bit of a smile on his face as it appears as though he's feeling pretty good about how things are going, all things considered. Thought Scour is going to target John. Sleight of Hand is 1. Spirebuff Canal is 2. And now he'll, of course, draw a card, and Thing of the Ice slides down to 3 ice counters. We'll head to Rosum for his 4th turn of the game now. And now Rosum being flanked by his teammates, trying to figure out what he wants to do on this turn. You do wonder why David Tobias has left up 3 mana. It just could be in a Hangerback Walker counter plus make a token off Animation Module. It could be activating Animation Module in some way, but it does look a little strange.
Well, the deck doesn't have a whole lot of instant speed play to it, and I think that you would have seen Dismember out of Tobias last turn if he had it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever he's got, it's probably something that doesn't play back at Thing in the Ice or Awoken Horror.
Aria Flame has shown up now. So perhaps Rosum is setting up for a huge 5th turn.
Or he's going to just place the burden here on Tobias to commit more to the battlefield before doing anything with Awoken Horror. If Tobias is not going to attack, then what's the rush?
Mm-hmm. Rosum's life total is pretty high, all things considered. At 14, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Got plenty to play with. Bang.
All right, so Animation Module is going to put another ice counter on a Thing in the Ice, which is a cute play, but how good of a play? Slowing that down a little bit doesn't seem bad to me, but, you know, if I'm David Tobias, I got to be thinking, I got to get my opponent dead.
Definitely, but also the Hangerback Walker is, I mean, it's not doing anything against the 0-4 anyway, so there we go.
That's a little bit better with the Hardened Scales. And now here's a Arcbound Ravager, so now we're doing a whole lot better.
Yeah, this is the spot that often the deck feels like I'm trying to figure out how much damage it can deal, and it feels like 8 or 10, and it's actually 26.
Mm-hmm. Now, where things get very interesting here is how big of a move are you supposed to make if you're David Tobias? It is possible, I believe, to kill your opponent right now with Inkmoth Nexus. And if Jonathan Rosum has nothing, no lightning bolts or any way to interact, he's dead. We're going to start by sacrificing a Darksteel Citadel. It's going to be 2 counters placed on the Arcbound Ravager instead of 1. And now here comes Inkmoth, perhaps.
Yeah, because you also get all these tokens off the Hangerback Walker too.
Uh-huh. So here's your attack for 1. Sacrifice a Mox. Well, it looks like we might be going all in here.
I mean, if Tobias is empty, his spot doesn't get a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to get worse next turn, and Rosum's going to be able to start, you know, change together cantrips, whatever.
Sacrifice a Hangerback Walker. Yep, there's the bolt.
And bolt's a pretty powerful. The welding jar is a pretty powerful hedge here too, because you set up. You're likely to be able to set up lethal or close to it the next turn, and if Rosum has mana available or can threaten to transform Thing in the Ice, then you can just wait a bit.
So the nice thing about that is the Aria Flame Trigger, that damage goes towards the Inkmoth Nexus, right? And so then you regenerate from that. And then the Arcbound Ravager's modular
No, Aria can can only hit.
Oh, you're right. Our players'
planeswalkers.
planeswalkers.
Yeah.
You're right. That's on me. So you counter the bolt regardless with the welding char.
Right.
Done and done. You can present lethal next turn again. Cool. Yeah, Aria would be way too good if it could take care of creatures.
Just too miserable.
Yep. You are totally right about that. But if you're Rosum, you might be thinking, I need to transform on your turn to bounce your Inkmoth Nexus when you activate it.
Right.
Assuming your deck allows you to do that.
Yeah, a really bad game design recipe would be a card that says, you gain 10, and now there's no pressure for me to end the game.
Yeah. Yep.
And now this is the interesting spot here, right? Because if you're Rosum, ideally what you would like to do is just wait until Tobias makes a move, transform into a Woken Horror, and get ahead that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the Thing in the Ice is non-mandatory, so if you're going to try to hold up the whole way, then you're not casting anything. You're not leveraging Aria Flame, and you're giving Tobias a lot of draw steps at it. And if you also sit and wait, it gives more opportunity for Tobias to activate the animation module, push your Thing in the Ice further and further away, and try to set up a spot where you can't realistically play enough spells on the same turn to be able to interact. So every single spell that Rosum casts is a weighted decision based on how jammed up is he going to be, how proactive is he willing to be about transforming Thing in the Ice, even if Tobias isn't playing into it, and what are the alternate lines look like? Like, how else can he play the game?
Here's Faithless Looting. Draw 2, discard 2. I am thinking right now about David Tobias' last turn, and if he sacrificed the right permanents to Arcbound Ravager. He sacrificed a Mox Opal and a Darksteel Citadel. There are 2 Thopters that are hanging out. Perhaps he was supposed to just sacrifice everything that was Hangerback Walker related, because the ability to actually activate animation module and put another ice counter on Thing in the Ice may have screwed up a lot of Rosum's planning.
I think unless you had really major demands for the mana, I'm a big fan here. Gaieski is not happy with what's ever going on this slide.
No, he's not.
I like if you're in Tobias' position and you think that Rosum might be jammed up and unable to play spells, I like shortening the game a little bit with the tokens. Like put some burden on him to play something.
Oh, Rosum's just trying to get the game over with, which I think he's going to be able to do. Yeah, and that's going to do it. So Gaieski may not have liked the line, but it was a winning line there for Jonathan Awesome Rosum. He's going to win this game in Matcher over David Tobias, and that means the team of Rosum, Tomajko, and Gaieski are going to get the job done.